triangles a little bit, and we're just going to focus on radicals. And specifically simplifying them. You don't have to write that down, though. First things first, I'm going to have you write a list of perfect squares in your notebook. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared, 4, 3 squared, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100. Those are the main ones. Also, 11 squared, 121, 12 squared, 144. Just good to have those two. Obviously, the list goes on and on for forever. I would say if you know 1 through 12 squared, you're in pretty good shape. Let's start by simplifying something like the square root of 18. The name of the game here is I want to ask myself, what's the biggest perfect square that can come out of 18? So while there's factors of 18 like 3 and 6, neither of those 3 or 6 are perfect squares. But 9 and 2 would work because 9 is a perfect square. So to simplify this, I'm going to pull out that 9. The square root of 9 is 3. So simplified square root of 18 in simplified radical form would be 3 square root of 2. Next, let's look at the square root of 300. Now, I might look at that and think, oh, okay, 25 can go out of that, so let me separate this into square root of 25 and square root of 12. While 25 is a perfect square, 4 can come out of 12, and it can still simplify, so usually I like to focus on what's the biggest perfect square that can come out of the number. The biggest perfect square that can come out of 300 is 100. So I'm going to write this as the square root of 100 times the square root of 3. Square root of 100 is 10. So a simplified answer would be 10 square root of 3. I also know that I'm done in both 1 and 2 because what's left in the radical can't be broken down any further. There's no perfect squares that go into 2, and there's no perfect squares that go into 3. Other than 1, I guess, but we're not really going to pull that out. Last thing that we're going to talk about in this video is multiplying radicals, which we talked a little bit about in 9.1. Main rule here is that the square root of a times the square root of b equals the square root of a times b. So if I am multiplying two radicals that are the same radicand, again, in this class we'll focus mostly just on square roots. I can just multiply the insides together. So our first example, the square root of 2 times the square root of 3. I'm going to multiply 2 times 3, and it'll give me the square root of 6. I also know that I'm done here. I can't simplify anymore because there's no perfect squares that go into 6. In number 2, let's do the square root of 15 times the square root of 5. 15 times 5 is 75. This one would simplify because I could pull out 25 because that's a perfect square. So my simplified answer would be 5 square root of 3. Last problem we're going to talk about, what if I did square root of 2 times square root of 2? This is just to kind of show how the square roots undo each other. 2 times 2 is 4. The square root of 4 is 2.